One bowl of food on your porch can be enough to make a raccoon come back night after night. At first, it feels harmless. A hungry animal finds an easy meal and disappears into the darkness. But once that raccoon learns that your home is a reliable food source, something changes. It comes closer, returns more often, and eventually other animals may begin showing up too. What started as a small act of kindness can turn into a 4-step chain reaction involving lost fear, predators, parasites, and a backyard ecosystem that no longer works the way it used to. And the most dangerous part is not always the raccoon itself. It is what follows. The first change is behavioral. Wild raccoons normally keep a cautious distance from people. That caution helps prevent conflict and dependence on human spaces. But food can slowly erase that boundary. If a raccoon approaches your porch and repeatedly finds something to eat, it begins learning a simple rule. This place is safe, and this place provides food. The animal does not need to become tame. It only needs to become comfortable enough to return. At first, it may wait until the house is dark. Later, it may appear earlier, checking pet bowls, trash cans, compost bins, or the same porch corner where food was left before. The behavior can look almost friendly. A raccoon that once ran at the sound of a door may now stand its ground and watch you. But that is not friendship. It is food conditioning. And once a wild animal begins associating people with meals, the relationship changes. When food is missing, a raccoon may search more aggressively, climbing onto decks, entering garages, tearing into garbage, or investigating attics and crawl spaces. This is where many homeowners realize that feeding wildlife is much easier to start than to stop. Raccoons are also intelligent problem solvers with strong memory. Once they discover a reliable food source, they may continue checking that location even after the food is removed. So the bowl you put outside for one quiet evening can create a pattern that lasts far longer than expected. But this is only the first link in the chain, because a raccoon returning every night changes more than its own behavior. It changes the activity around your home. A predictable food source attracts attention. Sometimes that means more raccoons, sometimes skunks, opossums, rats, feral cats, or other animals exploiting human food. Instead of one animal passing through, you now have several species visiting the same small area. That creates what could be called a biological hotspot. Food is concentrated. Animal scent is concentrated. Tracks, urine, droppings, and movement are concentrated too. And when small animals begin gathering regularly in one place, larger predators may start paying attention. Coyotes are highly adaptable. In suburban areas, they often move through greenbelts, parks, and residential neighborhoods without being noticed. They do not need a bowl of food specifically meant for them. An area with accessible garbage, pet food, rodents, outdoor cats, or concentrated animal activity can already be worth investigating. Feeding one raccoon will not automatically bring a coyote to your door, but it can help make a property more attractive to opportunistic wildlife. This is why feeding a raccoon is not always just feeding a raccoon. You may be building a small feeding station for an entire nighttime community. And once larger predators begin exploring the same area, the risk changes. A coyote passing through a yard is very different from one repeatedly checking a porch, pet feeding area, or trash point. Small dogs and outdoor cats can become vulnerable. People may begin seeing coyotes at unusual hours. And repeated access to human food can make some wild animals less cautious around houses. So the second link is not a dramatic attack. It is the gradual creation of a place where wildlife has more reasons to come close. But the third link is even harder to notice, because it can remain after the animals are gone. Raccoons often leave droppings in repeated locations, known as latrines. These can appear near trees, wood piles, decks, rooftops, sheds, or other raised surfaces. And raccoon feces can carry a parasite called Baylisascaris procyonis, commonly known as raccoon roundworm. This is where the problem becomes almost invisible. An infected raccoon can pass microscopic eggs in its feces. Those eggs do not become infectious immediately. They need time in the environment to develop. But once they do, they can remain viable in soil for years under the right conditions. The raccoon may be gone. The food bowl may be gone. The footprints may disappear after the next rain. but microscopic parasite eggs can remain. People can become infected by accidentally swallowing eggs from contaminated soil, hands, or objects. Human infection is rare, but it can be serious. Young children are at greater risk because they often play in soil and touch their mouths. Dogs can also become infected. This is one reason wildlife professionals warn against creating feeding areas where raccoons repeatedly gather. The danger is not just the animals standing on the porch. It is the contamination that can build up when the same animals return to the same location, again and again. A normal-looking corner of the yard, sandbox, woodpile, garden edge, or area beneath a deck can become contaminated without anyone realizing it. And this is where the original act of kindness starts looking very different. You thought you were helping an animal eat, but you may also have encouraged it to spend more time, leave more waste, and interact more closely with the space where your family and pets live. Then comes the fourth link. The backyard itself begins to change. Healthy gardens are networks, not systems controlled by one species. Birds eat insects. Small mammals move seeds. Predators control prey. Insects pollinate plants. Different species share the same space. But human feeding changes that balance because it introduces a concentrated, predictable source of calories. Animals that are especially good at exploiting human food can gain an advantage. Raccoons, rats, and other opportunistic species may visit more often. Food scraps can support larger numbers of animals than the natural environment would normally support in that exact spot. As activity rises, other wildlife may change its behavior. Ground-feeding birds may avoid areas with frequent mammal traffic. Nests, eggs, amphibians, insects, and small animals can face greater pressure from opportunistic predators. The garden may still look green, and the flowers still bloom, but relationships between the animals using that space can shift. This is why feeding wildlife can create consequences that are much larger than the amount of food involved. A handful of leftovers seems insignificant, but repeated every night, it changes behavior. Changed behavior creates concentration. Concentration increases contact, and increased contact can affect disease risk, predator activity, and the balance of the surrounding habitat. So what should you do if you enjoy seeing raccoons in your yard? The best approach is simple. Enjoy them without teaching them to depend on you. Watch from indoors or from a safe distance. Bring pet food inside after feeding. Secure garbage cans and compost. Pick up fallen fruit. Clean outdoor grills. Do not leave scraps on the porch overnight. And if you want a wildlife-friendly garden, focus on habitat instead of handouts. Plant native vegetation, provide natural cover, reduce unnecessary pesticides, and let wildlife find the foods it evolved to eat. The goal is not to remove every raccoon from the neighborhood. Raccoons belong in the ecosystem. The goal is to keep a healthy boundary between their world and yours, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a wild animal is not to feed it. One bowl can create 4 changes. The animal loses some of its fear. More wildlife begins visiting the same area. Waste and parasites can accumulate, and the balance of the backyard can slowly shift. Those changes rarely happen in a single night, which is exactly why they are easy to miss. So the next time a raccoon appears outside your window and waits near the place where food was left before, remember what may be happening behind that simple behavior. It is not just looking for dinner. It may already have learned that your home is part of its feeding routine, and once that routine begins, the effects can spread much farther than the edge of the bowl. Have you ever noticed raccoons, coyotes, or other wildlife returning after food was left outside? Did anything else begin changing around your yard afterward? Share your experience in the comments. Your story may help someone else protect their backyard, while still giving wild animals exactly what they need most: the chance to stay wild.